Right, so that Apple keynote just wrapped up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the new iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, as well as the iPhone 10. I'll give you my thoughts. Is this a winner? Is this terrible? Did Apple make a terrible, terrible decision releasing the iPhone 10 while at the same time releasing the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus? It might be the stupidest decision in history or the smartest. Let's go ahead and get into this. Here we go. Okay, so the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, they both have upgraded 12 megapixel cameras on the back. They now all feature optical image stabilization. That's pretty awesome. Probably one of the biggest upgrades here is they now have wireless charging because they switched up the back so that it is laser welded copper and steel structure with glass. And now that allows for wireless charging. I think the aluminum before interfered with that. Is this going to be durable? That's the real question, because now we're switching to even more fragile phones. Like the iPhone was fragile before, and now we're slapping another pane of glass on the back half. I mean, that seems like a terrible idea. In this case, they say it's super durable. I can't wait to test it out and find out exactly how durable it is for you guys. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are almost identical to the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. They have 4.7-inch and 5.5-inch displays, 25% louder speakers. One of the big features in the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10 is the new A11 Bionic chip. It's a 6-core processor with 2 high-performance and 4 high-efficiency cores. This could, in theory, optimize battery life when you're doing low-performance tasks like browsing the web, watching some videos, stuff like that. You've got this nameless Apple design GPU. I think it's kind of included in this A11 Bionic chip, the way they sounded. We have a 12 megapixel camera sensor. It's supposed to have deeper color, better blacks, individual, blah, blah, blah. We don't really know exactly how it's going to perform until we get into actually using it. It has a 1080p, 240 frames per second video mode. This is going to be awesome. And all the camera files, all the people who are super into video are going to absolutely love this. There's also going to be 60 frames per second 4K. Now, the fact that they can do 60 frames per second 4K to me indicates that they probably have the power bandwidth to do honest 1080p 240 frames per second. In the past, the slow-mo mode on the iPhones really weren't even 720p. It was more like 540p. It was very blurry and fuzzy, but it worked and it was pretty cool. But if this is 1080p crisp 240 frames per second, I am so excited. The new A11 chip is supposed to be good with assisted reality gaming. It's basically like tabletop stuff where you look through your phone at a table and you can see a game being played, and you might be able to play that with your friends. It could be really cool. I have to try it out for myself. There's been previous assisted reality gaming with cell phones before. I don't know if this is going to be that much better. It probably will be. It's hard to say. There's going to be a new LTE Advanced as well as Bluetooth 5. I'm excited about Bluetooth 5 simply because when you're using Bluetooth 4.2 or 4.1, the signal oftentimes lags and it's not that great. Sometimes I even lose signal just from my pocket to my head. Bluetooth 5 should fix that completely. The iPhone 8 will have 64 gigs and 256 gig. There's only going to be 2 models, so cutting out the middle model. Moving on to the iPhone 10. All right, you guys, this is the phone that you guys have all been wondering about. This is going to have a continuous display across the front of the whole phone. They're calling it a Super Retina display. I think that's an extremely dumb name. Who came up with that? It's like a Marvel, silly bad guy name, like the Super Retina display. I don't know. Anyway, it's a 5-point-inch display, 2436 by 1125, 458 ppi, so pixels per square inch. In addition, this 5.8-inch display is going to be an OLED display, which is big thumbs up for me. I love how colors pop. Blacks are super dark. And the main thing about OLED displays is they do tend to be oversaturated and punchy, whereas the previous iPhone displays have been very color accurate. So hopefully this will be a very punchy, very high quality OLED display that is both color accurate and very colorful. I have my doubts, but I think this has tons of potential. The iPhone 10 is only going to come in space gray and silver colors only. This is supposed to be super water and dust resistant for the iPhone 10. There's going to be, and this is a big deal, no more home button. If you want to interact with the phone, you want to go home, you swipe up from the bottom. If you want to wake it up, you tap the screen or raise the phone up to your face. I have my doubts about that. For example, when you're on a call and you raise your phone up to your face to switch it to speaker mode. Sometimes the phone just goes black and you're like, why? Stop. I need to switch to speaker mode, and it just doesn't work very well. So I have some doubts about how well this is actually going to work. I think there's tons of potential here. One of the biggest deals about removing the home button on the front to make room for this big screen is the fact there's no Touch ID anymore. That is huge, because that was the main way that we interacted with our phone to unlock it, unless you just were a big fan of not using a fingerprint. And so now you either use a code or you use the new system called Face ID. Face ID uses a true depth camera system, which includes an infrared camera, a flood illuminator, a DOT projector, and a front camera to basically detect the shape and size and depth of your face to identify you as an individual. I think this could be really cool, and I think this could work really, really well. Now, I have some doubts. For example, if you have a twin, could your twin unlock it? As well as, what if you have, you change your face in some major way? Like, if I have this beard, I remove my beard, now I can no longer get into my phone. Or if I get a haircut, can I no longer get into my phone? Do I have to recalibrate it every time I change something about my face? I think that's pretty likely. Now, it's supposed to adapt and learn over time, because, as we age, our face does change. So, as you start to grow a beard, maybe it detects the beginnings of the beard, then it detects the full beard, then I don't know. But then if you make a major change all at once, I think it probably will break. You probably have to recalibrate it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out. Moving on. Now, with this new true depth camera system, they can detect your face much more accurately, which is huge for apps like Snapchat that map your face. Already the camera maps your face pretty dang well, and now with this new sensor, it's going to be able to detect your face super well, detect the contours of your nose, and they even showed some really cool mask images where the guy had the mask completely mapped to every nook and cranny of his face. I think it'll be really cool. I think it'll probably work really well. It does use the same 12 megapixel sensor, I believe, but it does have better apertures on the iPhone 10. The front camera with the true depth camera is supposed to be also great for selfies, and there is this new portrait mode that does apply to the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, as well as the iPhone 10. The portrait mode is probably going to be basically just coloring, highlighting, lighting effects to maybe make the subject pop a little bit better. They're saying that the iPhone 10 is supposed to last 2 hours more than the iPhone 7. I have my doubts. I think that most likely what they're doing is to make room for that display, and other things are probably decreasing the battery size. I don't know yet. I'll have to see the technical specifications later. But they're increasing the efficiency for when you're browsing the web or talking to someone on the phone. But when for example, you do something like Vainglory, which is a high-powered video game, it might drain your battery super, super fast. We'll have to see. Now, with the wireless charging, there's this really cool thing called an AirPower, which is like a pad for your iPhone and your smartwatch. I think that's fantastic. Rather than having 2 or 3 or 4 plugs by your bed, you could have one plug. I would love it if there was one plug for your iPad, your Apple Watch, and your iPhone. You just lay all 3 right next to each other. Do I think Apple is making this ridiculously stupid mistake doing an iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10? I think very likely, because they decided to release the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus with the exact same massive bezel design as the iPhone 7. And if people are going to go for a budget-oriented phone, and I'm saying budget like $600, $700, maybe $800, they don't want a bezel now. There's so many options out there that are bezel-less. The LG V30. You've got the Samsung Galaxy S8, the S8 Plus. All of those are going to be cheaper than the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and they're going to be bezel-less. And then in order to get the bezel-less display on the iPhone 10, you're going to have to fork out $1,100. I mean, I don't see people buying the iPhone 10 unless they have a very high budget. And then I don't see people buying the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus at that price point, because you can get bezel-less Android phones. I think this might be the downfall of Apple overall. I love the innovation. I think there's a massive advances in design, but they're asking too much money for something that Samsung and LG are offering at much lower prices. So basically, there's going to be Apple fanboys like me who are going to buy it, and basically maybe a few people are going to save up to buy it, but the vast majority of people are not going to be buying the iPhone 10. They're going to go with the S8 or S8 Plus if they want a bezel-less thing, and if they don't want a bezel-less thing, they're going to go for an iPhone 7, which is going to be much cheaper. So I think both of these phones are going to sell fairly poorly, which is not going to reflect well on Apple. But time will tell. I could be totally wrong. I'm very interested to find out. What do you guys think? For more tech breakdowns, creative durability tests, awesome slow-mo, be sure to subscribe and sign up for notifications. We'll see you next time. Brandon, out. Woo!
はい